oil companies are at it again. You know, they want you to believe that they are into green energy now. So they're going to invest money into doing things that create renewable energies, doing all different types of green, etc. Well, guess what? The dirty little secret is out. No, that's not what they're doing. I want you to listen to Ro Khanna and this interview. As far as misinformation, these guys still intend to pull as much out of the earth as they can. They are going to burn the earth up because most of them that are making a killing right now know that they won't be around when all the cleanup is necessary. Folks, this is mean, this is evil, but this is what they do. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
On alleged misinformation, not political misinformation, but what Democrats in Congress say is a deliberate push by big oil and gas companies to mislead people about what they're doing on the climate crisis, basically greenwashing. That's in this new report just out from House Oversight Committee Democrats, which says Shell, Chevron, BP, American Petroleum Institute all made big investments protecting fossil fuels for years to come, with accusations those companies only paid lip service to investments in renewable energy while raking in record profits. They also say industry leaders refuse to comply with the committee's subpoenas. NBC News has reached out to those companies for comment on specifics here. No response yet. But in the past, the head of Chevron, for example, has said any suggestion they're engaged in an effort to spread disinformation or mislead the public is wrong. No Republicans signed on to this report, and the committee's top GOP member has slammed the Democrats' investigation as an attempt to deliver partisan theater for primetime news. I sat down with House Oversight Committee member Congressman Ro Khanna before that report dropped. Here's part of our conversation. Talk to me about what you think is the most important thing people should know about your findings.
Hallie, we can't solve the climate crisis if we don't solve the climate misinformation crisis. And these hearings, 2 years where we had the big oil CEOs testifying for the first time in front of Congress, exposed that big oil has been misleading the American public. They lied for decades about climate change, that they denied that human activity caused it. And now they're misleading people, calling themselves green companies, saying they're going to hit the Paris Accords. But as you pointed out, they have very little actual investment going into clean technology, very little actual investment going into climate.
People often think of the word misinformation and they think about what we've talked about so often over the last several years, which is political misinformation, misinformation and disinformation as it relates to election-related matters. This is different.
Hallie, it is. I mean, think if the oil companies had told the truth to the American people in the 1970s. They had the best scientists in the world. They knew what was going on. They made a decision not to tell us that, and that's why we have the situation we do today, where we're almost at 1.5 degrees of global warming, the level which scientists say is unacceptable, which is why we have such high gas prices, because we didn't diversify our economy. And then you'd think they'd wake up and they'd say, okay, we're going to change course. But instead, they continue to mislead. They are actually increasing their carbon emissions. The internal documents show that they believe that this is a license to continue the status quo, to entrench the fossil fuel industry, while claiming something totally different.
These companies have pushed back on some of the claims that are reflected here in this final report, including, Chevron, Exxon, et cetera. The companies essentially say, hey, we are advocating for responsible climate change investment. We are doing that.
Well, I'm sure they're talking about it because they know it's good PR. But as the documents show, they're working to have lobbyists kill climate legislation. They can't have it both ways. They can't call themselves clean companies and then commit to business plans to increase CO2 emission.
What was the most shocking thing to you?
It was the culture in these oil companies. So these companies have a culture of intimidation and bullying, and that's what's got to change.
Do you think this report realistically could help change that culture?
I think it sets the foundation. We're going to be referring the report to other agencies, which we'll announce soon. But it's going to take more work. It's going to take mobilization. It's going to take people more than a House subcommittee with more resources looking into the millions of documents. We haven't had the resources to look into all the documents or get all the documents. But I think it's this first step in telling the story of what these companies have been doing.
It sounds like there is an acknowledgement that this is about as far as the House can go, considering the shift in power next Congress with this. Do you feel like you're handing off the ball now to the Senate and to the White House? And what do you want to see them do with it?
Well, I do think that there are a lot of documents, there's a lot of evidence that they could act on. We will be doing whatever we can in the next few weeks to help make that possible. And we're still in conversations, and so I don't want to make more news on the program, but suffice it to say that this isn't the end, and that the House is going to be working with all the evidence for a body that has more resources to continue the work.
How do you respond to the criticism that the work that has been done to create this ultimate final report is simply, let's say, partisan or has been politicized?
It has been, candidly, Democrats doing it because the Republicans didn't want to participate. I mean, from the day one when the big oil hearings happened, every Republican gave a tribute to the big oil executives. They didn't want to ask the tough questions. And so if you only have one side that acknowledges that climate change is a real issue, it is unfortunately partisan. But ultimately, I think what matters are facts. And this report lays out the facts. And the facts are that the big oil companies have continued to mislead the American public.
Now tell me if that makes any sense. Tell me if it makes any sense for us as American citizens to allow a corporatocracy of this sort to exist. They are using our own natural resources to hurt us. Why do we allow this? We have the power to do several things. We have the power to nationalize the oil industry, keep all the engineers and everybody else that makes good money, keep them at those high salaries to do the good work that they're doing right now. But nationalize it, get rid of the executives and the shareholders, pay them out, and then going forward, let it be what it needs to be, what it should be. It's a fundamental natural resource. And as a fundamental natural resource, it shouldn't be in the hands of the plutocracy. It shouldn't be in the hands of those who are simply there to make a buck on what should belong to us all. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.